Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Got another Combine winners and losers show. Yes, the Combine was last weekend. A couple days ago, I dropped my running back show and now I want to talk wide receivers. So before we get started, I just want to define what a winner is and a loser. All right. A winner is, again, when we look at the Combine, right? We're looking for a verification of athletic testing, right? The athletic ability of these players, but we can't go overboard, right? I see on X and Twitter, whatever you want to call it, everyone just rising all these guys up into the first round because they run fast, right? But really, it comes down to film over speed. But so the winner's standpoint, are players that maybe overachieved, in the drills and what we saw on the field, right? I feel bad calling anybody a loser. I feel bad for calling a loser. So this show should probably be called the Combine Underachievers. So I'm going to have a few of those players at the end of the show, too, that I want to talk about that just came up maybe a little bit short. So to begin off, and as well, I'm disappointed that Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't participate, that Malik Neighbors didn't participate, and I want to give props to Rome Odunze for being one of those top three tiered prospects for coming out and competing and staying on the field at the end to do the cone drills and stuff. And I actually, as weird as this may seem, I interviewed Roma Dunze. So go on this YouTube channel and check it out. He actually sat down with me before the beginning of the year and did an interview with me, which was pretty cool. But anyway, props to Roma Dunze for getting out there and competing, because I'm sure a lot of NFL franchises and front offices were a little disappointed that they didn't get to see the top two. Although most of the teams aren't going to have a shot at even drafting these players, so they probably didn't really care after all. So, but overall, too, we don't want to take too much stock in the combine. I know a lot of people say that, and a lot of people get excited, man. But my God, after the combine, these wide receivers, a lot of them came in fast. A lot of them had that athletic ability, and we're going to talk about a lot of these players too. But don't let that supersede what you see on film. I just like to caution that. I'm a film guy. I'm not really an analytics guy. I don't like crunch numbers and all that. To me, it's all about skill sets on the field. So the combine for me, I'm looking, like I said, verification for the athleticism that I see on the field, because creating space for wide receivers is the name of the game. And this testing and speed all contributes to whether a player can create space on a consistent basis with the hopeful goals of hitting our dynasty rosters, right? All right, let's get to the show, man. The first player we have to talk about is Xavier Worthy, right? I mean, the guy just blew off the top on the 40. I was kind of bummed he didn't do the rest of the drills and stuff, but I guess when you run the fastest 40 of all time, you can just kick your feet up and relax. So but he came in undersized, right? And so, along with this show, I'm going to talk about the winners, but I might give you a little sneak peek on like my personal feeling on each of these players too, because you can go on this YouTube channel, guys, and I've got film rookie reviews, not all film reviews, but just rookie reports on a ton of the players that we're talking about today. So go back where you can get my in-depth thoughts on what I think of a lot of these players. But Xavier Worthy now, after the combine, he's a first round lock, speed, man. The NFL loves speed. So he's a route runner, he's a space creator, and he should be a first round draft pick. No doubt about it. I don't think we can get concerned with size anymore after Tank Dell and Devonta Smith. I think it's kind of out there that, if you're physically tough, regardless of your size, you can be successful in the NFL. And I think Xavier Worthy's got some physicality and toughness. You watch his film at Texas, man. When he's got the ball in his hands, he fights for every yard, and he'll lay the lumber on you too. So don't let that 165-pound frame, mislead you. Hopefully he's got the body composite to stay healthy, given that small frame. But if some guys got that, and some guys got the soft tissue stuff, some guys don't. But we'll see. But Xavier Worthy helped himself at the combine for sure, right? One of my personal favorites in this wide receiver class is Ladd McConkey. Came in at a 4.39, which is great. I wasn't expecting that. I was thinking more 4.45, something like that. He's one of my favorite receivers in this draft. I think he is a space creator. He is a good route runner. He had good composite explosion grades. You can see here on the screen with his RAS reports. Didn't have the best vertical and broad jump and stuff like that. But again, I'm not going to get hung up on moving guys up and down my ranks based on these testing drills and scores. I'm just not. I'm going to rely on my eyes on the field. All right. So Ladd McConkey is a winner in my boat. All right. Xavier Legette, right? We were really excited. Everyone wanted to see what he was going to run, man. At South Carolina, playing with Spencer Rattler this year, man, he was down the field making play after play, great body control, right? But we were saying at his speed. So South Carolina lied to us about his height. He was like, everyone was thinking he's this 6'3", 220-pound, receiver with that speed we saw. He comes in, confirms with a 4.39, coming in at 6'1", which makes the 40 time, I think, even, a little better. So comes off with good grades. Thing about Legette we have to be concerned about, he's a 5-year player and coming out of college with 1 year of production. Go back and look at his box scores for the last 4 or 5 years. Before this year, he has done nothing, right? So gives me a little bit of concern and pause. It's like, because Terrace Marshall Jr. had these great RAS scores too. He was a good player at LSU, but really blew up that last year. And we knew how that, another example of how athleticism in these RAS reports and stuff, you can't let that mislead you if they come in really nice, but you watch the film and you're like, man, I don't know if a guy can get open. Trust your eyeballs versus what you saw at the combine. Trust your film grades before that. That is my advice to you. But Legette, player that I think is going to, get day 2 draft capital without a doubt. All right, Devonte Walker, interesting profile. I have him as a riser here because he came in at a 4.36. Another player who's a little raw at route running. I mean, he had really 1 year at University of North Carolina. He was a JUCO product coming, and transferred into North Carolina. I personally was surprised that he declared this year. I thought he would go back and play, perhaps because Drake May, left and he didn't know what the quarterback situation is, and maybe he got a decent grade. He's going to be a day 3 guy. I don't see Devonte. If anyone drafts him in round 2 or 3, he is so raw as a route runner. I mean, he's a nice vertical threat. So great, some good scores here, that you're seeing on the screen. But I think he's more of a guy that's going to take a year or two to develop to be a consistent dynasty starter on our dynasty rosters. That's just my opinion. I watched almost all of his games at North Carolina this year. All right, Brian Thomas Jr., right? Got to talk about him. He just, he was probably a round 1 pick to begin with. Now people are saying he's a round, pick 6, 7 lock, which I think is a little nuts. 4.34 40. I mean, he comes in with, good scores across the board. Again, I talked about Brian Terrace Marshall Jr. from LSU, right? Had the almost identical size and scores here as Brian Thomas. So again, you got to look at the film. Brian Thomas has had a great year, another 1 year player with 1 year of real, production, true junior. Could have stayed in school, decided to come out, probably got some good grades, but I think he's another player who's a little great at the catch point. All those highlight films on LSU, man, like in the back of the end zone, contorting, going up and getting the ball. He's another one who I think will take some time to develop into a route runner. I know that that's not popular opinion. I put some stuff out there on X on Brian Thomas Jr. and people just attack me for not loving this guy. And I get it, but I can only be true to myself. What I see on the film and screen, and a lot of the catches that he had were manufactured, where it wasn't him beating DBs consistently on a one-on-one basis. So those are the things you look at when you watch film. All right, next player I want to talk about, Ricky Pearsall. Really, this guy has just been a slow riser ever since the Senior Bowl. 4.41 is a good 40 for his size. Really came in. He was one of the only ones who did the agility grades. If you look at all these RAS reports, he's the only one under the composite agility grades where he's even got scores. Everyone else, I guess, didn't do the 3-cone or shuttle, or maybe they just didn't make these reports. But nonetheless, Ricky Pearsall is a player who I think is going to be a solid possession wide receiver. I got a rookie report on this YouTube channel of him. Go check it out. My podcast co-host Jason DiRienzo and I, we break down his scouting report, his draft capital, his productions, his PFF grades, and everything. So, he's going to be just, I think, a late, maybe I'm thinking round 4 at the latest selection, who should be a great wide receiver 3 on a team. Maybe a wide receiver 2, but I think more solid wide receiver 3 playing out of the slot. All right, and of course, we can't not talk about risers until we talk about Adonijah Mitchell. All right, across the board, 4.35. he was the star as far as the athletic testing. You can see here the RAS report, 9.97, just pretty much across the board crushed everything. Another player who's got a little bit of rawness to his route running. And I know you may be like watching this video and been like, oh, dude, what are you talking about? All these guys, they're going to be top players or whatever. But I don't know, man. I can probably guess that I've watched more film of these players than you have watching the show. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying I watch it consistently and watch for technique and route running and stuff like that. And Adonia Mitchell takes plays off a lot and doesn't, I feel like, give a full effort out there on a regular basis. Sure, his highlight film looks great, man. His 7, 8, 9 catches that you see all over Twitter and stuff like that. And I'm not saying he's not going to be a good player, but again, I'm not using these combine results to say he is an early round 1 pick. I've seen people saying we're going to get 12 wide receivers in the first round. I think it's just we're getting a little ahead of ourselves with some of these players. They have the potential to be really good wide receiver 1s and 2s on teams. But man, a lot of these guys are juniors and they're young kids, man, that need time to develop. And that's really what my point of all that is. All right. So I got 3 players here that maybe underperformed. I feel bad calling them losers, so I don't want to do that. I'm going to call them, underperformance. And Keon Coleman underperformed his 40 time, 4.61 was, a shocker to, I think, a lot of people. And he's another player too. Trey Benson, I just cut up 4 all 22 films of him watching Keon Coleman, another player too, who kind of disappeared this year a little bit. Either you love Keon Coleman and think his athletic traits are going to lead him to a stardom in the NFL. And then you got guys, like me a little bit who, think he could potentially be there, but coming out of the gate, if you were really to watch all the Florida State, films and, check me out on X and DM me, and I'll send you some clips of him and where I think some of his skill set and stuff needs to be refined a little bit. But he just came in, and I know that people talked about at the gauntlet he ran faster than that, and so it really didn't show up in the 40 time. But in any case, we got to come up with some guys that underperformed, right? Not everyone killed this combine situation. So Troy Franklin, been a fan of Troy Franklin. I think he's a space creator. People are concerned about his size, 6'2", 176 pounds. His 40 was good. I think his explosion grades here, the broad jump, I think everyone's hanging their hat on that he didn't do really well or whatever. And then again, during the gauntlet, he was like weaving in and out of the, and everyone's kind of knocking the guy. So he's going to be an underperformer. He didn't go down there and probably work on those drills as good as maybe he should have, but put the film on in Oregon. The guy has got some vertical playmaking ability and it's got some twitchiness to him. So, again, true junior coming out that, should be, I think, a day 2 pick. I think the round 1 selection stuff might be kind of out the window at this point for Troy Franklin. Brendan Rice, I just wanted to put him as an underperformer. He's a player who had a really nice season at USC. Of course, he's Jerry Rice's son, and I was really hoping he'd come out and put on a little bit more of a show when it comes to these grades. His hands looked a little dicey in the gauntlet as well. So just from what I saw and my expectation of pulling for him for who he is and the pressure that he must be under being Jerry Rice's son, I was hoping he came out here and showed a little bit better. But again, he's going to be a wide receiver 3 on a team. It's going to be an early day 3 pick. But a solid wide receiver. Hopefully that will hit our dynasty rosters. All right. So there you guys got it, man. That is the show. Again, if you want to go on the channel and get my in-depth look and discussion points on these players, feel free to peruse my channel, man, and hit that subscribe button, man. I'm trying to grow this channel, give you guys some just good advice, and I'm doing shows for the 2027 class. Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State, incoming freshman. DJ Lagway over in Florida. Got Ryan Williams, incoming Alabama wide receivers with scouting reports and breakdowns. So you play Dynasty and fantasy out there and you're a junkie like me that likes to look to the future. I got a lot of stuff on this channel. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. So again, thanks for watching.